Hello, is this thing on? Welcome to today's Grey Market Blast with myself and Angie Setzer, the glamorous Angie Setzer. Angie will be providing us with a rapid roundup of latest pricing flows and market moving news in the agricultural markets. I am testing out new headphones today, so I apologise if the quality is crap.
No, it sounds beautiful and crisp. You should try out for American Idol with these things on.
I'll tell you what, they are bloody loud.
Oh, no, that's just me. Sorry.
I just need to reduce my sound on that. Yes, it is Thursday, the 24th of July, all day. No one is quite sure how we've got this far throughout the year, but there we are. Before Angie kicks on, I'll get the legals out of the way. Nothing discussed in the Spaces session constitute trading or investment advice or infers any kind of endorsement by myself, Ryan Paisley, Angie Stetzer, or indeed PIQ. And as we said before, if you are taking trading advice from two people that are on a Spaces event, you probably need to go give your head a little wobble. But it is what it is. How are you, my darling?
Right. Unless you're a customer of mine, caveat.
Oh, no, absolutely.
Asterisk, but we have contracts that also say you can't sue me. Please don't, anyway. Not
Not for
welcome.
this anyway. There's
Yes,
other things you can
especially.
Do
Yeah. No. And then anyway, all right. Before all hell breaks loose, the wheel completely come off. Yeah, that's what, welcome to the Thunderdome. It is Thursday. Yesterday I thought it was Thursday all day. Today I now think it's Wednesday. So congratulations. Welcome to my mind warp. First bullet point, I don't know if you guys realize this or not, but Ryan, sends me over. He's like, what are your bullet points? And that's how it helps me organize the chaos that is in this unmedicated ADHD rattled brain of mine. People are like, how do you do it? I'm like, mostly I just raw dog ADD. That's what I do. But anyway, first bullet point I sent over was hey, garbage sentiment. And so there's been this question. I feel like it's just been this sort of continuous sort of question of why isn't this market paying attention? What are we doing here? And obviously, when you look at these sort of quote unquote weather derived, yield models and things like that, there are a lot of people in this industry and have been talking about this ad nauseum for a while. But if you ask a lot of analysts at this point, what their yield number is, a bunch of them are probably going to tell you in the upper 180 sort of level. And so because of that, for the most part, you could have, and we'll see how the market reacts, because we did have China come in and officially make a purchase of corn this morning. China and unknown both. That was just announced here at 9 a.m. And so we'll see. I was literally just going to say, you could have China come in and buy corn and this market won't even react. So they did this morning. So we get to put that theory to the test. But, we had the Japan trade deal. Immediately people are like, well, Japan, $8 billion of ag purchases. Japan already purchases $14 billion. That's a nothing burger. Honestly, let's be honest, the trade deal with Japan kind of is at this point. The lead negotiators, we're not signing anything. She was like, oh yeah, I'll totally get them to sign before I leave office at the end of next month, and so we have some sort of back and forth on, do these trade deals matter? Are they anything that we really are excited about? And so instead, because I said, the sentiment is such garbage, even if you get something that, 3 weeks ago people were saying, we need more certainty in trade. We need a deal with Japan. We need to make sure Japan doesn't get mad at us. We need to make sure, all these things. I said it yesterday with the RBOs and the SRE, we needed to have clarity in biofuels. We get these pieces of clarity, but the market just kind of poo-poos them. Okay, yeah, but, and I've said this for months now, our yeah, but problem. And so I don't know when that switches. Part of me thinks that, maybe, and I don't know, I have no idea what final yields will look like or what even the USDA is going to say in August or what the farmer sentiment looks like or whatever. But I am going to be interested to see when we start to get some of these private yield, numbers, that are farm rate survey driven and some of these other things, if the market isn't going to be surprised to see that the farmer actually feels, nationally that the crop's closer to the 180, 181, maybe 183 instead of this 187, 189. And we can argue until the cows come home over what price, what yield is actually being priced in, but at this point, everyone's just kind of it's a big crop. It doesn't matter. Demand's whatever. Big crop doesn't matter. And so that's the first thing, really that we're paying attention to. Obviously, secondly, we have grain flows and what's taking place in the cash market. And that's the thing, that really has my attention more than anything. And I think I've mentioned it here before, but folks are kind of starting to catch on, that we have some really interesting developments in cash that don't necessarily point to, massive crops. Now, $1 million question. Has the farmer just been able to squirrel everything away? Like traditionally in the cash grain market, you get into harvest time. Harvest time is usually when you have the opportunity, as you reach 50% harvested, work your way towards 3/4, whatever, that's when you typically have the best opportunity to buy the cheapest value of grain. You should anyway, as people kind of fill up their space and they need to find a home for it in years of a big crop, as you work your way towards, 3/4 of the way done or whatever, the market itself should be, reaching its cheapest level. We're watching Brazil harvest their crop. They were 55% done as of the end of last week. And you're just not really seeing grain flow into the pipeline like you would expect. The exporters aren't really looking at super cheap offers. We had the U.S. win tender business out of Korea for October, November. You've got a lot of weird things taking place. Cash market is inverted, and so from an overall standpoint on the grain flow side of things, we're seeing it in our export sales announcements. Like you're seeing, there's also some constriction happening in the Black Sea. In the Europe market, we have some quality issues that have developed, in certain spots. We're just not seeing the flow of grain work its way into the pipeline as expected. And so you get a wheat sale this morning of 700 and some odd thousand metric ton, well above what traders are expecting. You're looking at corn sales that are continuing on at a relatively rapid pace. New crop is starting to fill in. The only thing that we're waiting on right now is new crop bean sales, but I don't think we necessarily get a lot of clarity in new crop beans until after next week's meeting between China and the U.S. So we're just watching that, grain flows, what the cash market is doing. I always recommend, Rory at Black Silo, Friar's Report, one of the best in the industry when it comes to cash grain insight, out of that neck of the woods,
and also not just saying that because he's listening in.
Is he listening? Oh crap. Now I'm embarrassed. That's weird. Sorry. Anyway, I do like Rory and he knows that I like him. Like I said, he's one of those people I say, he's my friend. I don't know if he would claim me as a friend, but I claim him as one. So he's stuck. But anyway, he posted today on Twitter, if you were waiting for prices to get cheaper, like you worked if you're eating paper, basically is what he said. Like if you are waiting on the futures market to get cheaper, it did. But if you're expecting cash to get cheaper, you missed the boat. It's actually gotten 50 cents or so a bushel, 40 to 50 cents a bushel more expensive. And so that's the thing I want to keep pounding into everyone's head right now. Balance sheets are one thing. Grain flow is another. And so what we have to be watching is what is taking place when it comes to the flow of grain, what's going on with global cash markets and all of that good stuff. And so, to me right now, that's what has me with my, the rock eyebrow, is like, I'm like, what is going on? And like literally in my notes this morning, cause in some of Rory's commentary, he mentioned slow farmer selling. And I'm like, is the farmer selling slow or do they just have less? And so I don't know the answer. We won't know the answer, to that for a while. But one of the things Eduardo keeps harping on in Brazil where we're seeing the same situation is that we've underestimated domestic demand.
Right.
So anywho, that's really where we're at. What to watch next. I kind of led with it in the beginning. Like we're going to try to get some more clarity. Obviously, like Trump said yesterday, we're close to getting something done with the European Union and China. I did see the EU and China kind of had a little bit of not the greatest of meetings. I wanted to see that because the enemy of my enemy is my best friend, right? So like if the EU and China aren't getting along, then it's girl math.
Yeah,
like
so this is an odd one. So I was saying this morning to Michael Brown in the Morning Blast that, if they're too pally, Trump's going to take this as like, Trump's going to get his heckles up, he's going to get defensive and say, well, look, if they're working against the US, I'm going to penalize them both.
In the nicest of, go ahead, sorry.
But because it doesn't look like it's gone very well, there is an argument to be made that Trump could turn around and say, look, see, even those two can't make a deal. The EU can't make a deal with China. The EU needs us more than ever. So potentially it could still play out negatively for the EU in regards to the US because Trump could use this as kind of ammunition to say, look, the EU are now desperate for a deal with the US because they can't make a good deal with anyone else.
With China, yeah. They're on the outside.
Yeah. I mean, like 4D chess was about 8 weeks ago. I think we're now into about 8D chess.
No, it's far.
I'm me and you are stuck on snakes and ladders, but
right. That's just it. I have no idea. I cheat at that game too, by the way. But No, the easiest way, it's far simpler than that. And this isn't me being disrespectful, so I hope no one gets mad about it. But
get comfy, everyone, get comfy.
Right. For me, the easiest way to assess how Trump is going to approach a situation is to look at it as the mean girl you knew in like middle school and high school. And so like, yeah, if Bridget and Heather are getting way too close because I had my wisdom teeth out and wasn't available to go out last Saturday, and now they're talking to the guy I have a crush on, you know what I mean? Like, that's just one of those things. And like, you can take that with a grain of salt all you want to, but that's how I look at it in a lot of ways. And like I said, it's fine. There are tons of grown people that's how they operate still. Like, it's not, like I said, it's not disrespectful. I just feel like the more, we kind of look at how humans interact with one another, especially these humans that we're watching, it helps you to kind of, assess at least, how it looks like it might go going forward. But in any event, it was interesting today to see, and I kind of mentioned that you had, Japan's lead negotiator say, hey, no, we're not going to sign anything. Like, I don't know what this is exactly, which was kind of interesting because Bro has been flying over here. Like, I think he's on like 12th trip over. And then all of a sudden, like, right? Ashiva loses the election, loses control over the upper house, has a 70-minute conversation with Trump on Tuesday, and all of a sudden there's a trade deal. Like, can you imagine?
It seems a bit odd. But it is weird because they have got the carve out for the auto sector and stuff like that. So it's like, what else do they want? I don't know. It's an interesting one. There's obviously stuff been going on behind the scenes that isn't being made public because otherwise.
Did he officially say he was going to resign though, Ashiva, or was that just a story yesterday?
So it came out, there was like 4 sources in the morning. Then he came out and said, not been speaking about it. No intention at the moment. But yeah, but then, low key, like those Asian countries, like politically incredibly unstable. It sounds ridiculous to say it because obviously Japan, they've had the same government or same party in power for a long time. But you look at what happened in South Korea recently. There was almost a coup that kind of went, a low-key coup basically. Like, turns out they were sending, the president of South Korea was kind of phoning his mate that just so happened to be in charge of like where the drones were flying. They were flying drones over North Korea, just trying to antagonize Kim Jong-un. So hopefully then South Korea could then declare martial law. It's all kicking off. But again, it's one of those that doesn't really impact our markets until it really does.
Until something happens and then all of a sudden it's the only thing we talk about for the entire day or whatever.
Exactly that.
And so from an overall standpoint, yes, we're going to watch a continuation of the trade deals. Let's be completely honest though, in this market at this point, like, are we really going to see, a major, and I think there are a lot of people that are still kind of holding on to this idea where it's like, oh no, like we're going to destroy trade forever. Like these people are going to hold it against us. And it's like, that's not really how, especially in grain. And I think I've said this before, but that's not how it works. Like you're not going to see me, someone overseas be like, yo, you've always fulfilled what you said you were going to fulfill. You've always provided me, great insight into the market structure. You've always done what you said you were going to do. You've been a great trade partner, but your president, I don't like him. So wean, I'm going, Yeah, so it's just not how it works. But anyway, we'll be watching that. I did get a DM here from a little birdie that is saying that the China sale exporters are saying that was a mistake. Now, I have not seen anything the USDA is saying it was a mistake. I'm guessing just traders are like, we didn't sell any corn to China. So we'll see if that gets backed up here as we move ahead. But there is some I'm going to say this. You're seeing some interesting things happen in China. You've watched coking coal rally in a big way.
Yeah.
You are seeing, some shifts and probably, maybe it has to do with the U.S. steel tariffs. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure, nor am I smart enough to figure it out. But you are seeing ocean freight, kind of spike as well. Capesize especially, which is your coal and some of these other things. But, in 2020, when China came into the market weirdly, like when no one really kind of anticipated them to, and I'm not saying this is 20, but I'm watching it because history rarely repeats itself, but sometimes it rhymes. Yeah. Where you started to see the interesting dynamic of China coming in, because it was part of the trade deal and they'd kind of agreed to start doing some increases. Ocean freight rallied first. And then you saw barge freight, and things like that get really tight, and then you heard people start to talk that China was sniffing around, yada, yada, yada. So we'll see. I have no idea. The market's just open. We tried to open up 5 right away in corn. We're going to go back and forth until, either we get an announcement that the sale was an error or we get confirmation that it wasn't. We'll see how that goes. But, yeah, I feel like we're on the cusp of something, exciting, or at the very least going to get some more clarity, the further into August that we get when it comes to actual yields and things like that. And so, yeehaw, giddy up. Happy Thursday. We'll see what today brings.
Giddy up indeed. Well, Angie, thank you so much for that. As always, absolute rock star. Listeners, thank you as also for tuning in. Whatever you're doing today, if you're out in the field, stay safe. If you're in front of your screens, keep it tight. Like Angie said, we'll see you all tomorrow for the final day of the week. Much love, and see you tomorrow.
Have a good one, guys.